Without tariffs, what would you do? You know what? Everybody would be bankrupt, everybody. The whole country would be bankrupt. And I have to wait for this decision. I've been waiting forever. And the language is clear that I have the right to do it as president. I have the right to put tariffs on for national security purposes, countries that have been ripping us off for years. You know what they were doing? Using tariffs.
In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1.
Oh my God, the Supreme Court just stepped in and basically told Trump, you don't get to run trade policy like a one-man emergency monarchy. This whole tariff thing under that IEEPA national emergency umbrella, yeah, that's been the go-to move. Big, loud, unilateral, and conveniently around Congress. And right now it matters because tariffs hit prices, jobs, global relationships, real lives. So let's watch this unfold together and see what this ruling means for power in America. If you love explosive content like this and want to see more, click that subscribe button.
We have a breaking news alert for you. It's finally here. The Supreme Court has made a decision on President Trump's tariffs. This is a huge case, a big ruling. It comes right before the State of the Union. And Shannon Bream, of course, is standing by with us. Shannon, do we have an initial thought on what the ruling is?
We do. We've got a very fractured opinion, but initially what it says, we know it's authored, the primary opinion, by the Chief Justice, and says essentially that this IEEPA, this law that grants the president emergency powers, did not, it looks like by this first blush reading by the Chief Justice here, does not give him the power to levy these tariffs that he's levied. Part of this initial opinion says, the words regulate and importation, the president says that gives him the independent power to impose tariffs on imports from any country, any product, any rate, any time. These words, it says, cannot bear such weight. We know we've got a dissent by Justice Kavanaugh, by Thomas and Alito, it looks like. And those were the three we thought during the arguments, if anyone would be persuaded to allow the president to move forward with these tariffs, they would be the ones to do it. So at first blush, like I said, there are multiple parts and concurrences to this opinion, but it looks like what the primary holding is going to be is that these tariffs cannot be used in the way that the president had tried to use them. Let me get you to the closing paragraph that we have in this initial opinion here. It says, the president asserts the extraordinary power to unilaterally impose tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope. In light of the breadth, history, and constitutional context of that asserted authority, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it, meaning if he wants to do it, he's got to show that Congress has allowed him to do it. But they say IEEPA, this emergency powers law, contains no reference to tariffs or duties. The government points to no statute in which Congress used the word regulate to authorize taxation. And until now, no president has ever read IEEPA to confer such powers. We claim no special competence in matters of economics or foreign affairs, but we claim only, as we must, the limited role assigned to us by Article 3 of the Constitution. Fulfilling that role, we hold that IEEPA does not authorize the president to impose tariffs. We'll keep reading. That is the first blush, authored by the Chief Justice John Roberts.
Shannon Bream, thank you so much. Bill Malutian is with me, and we will anchor through this hour. This is big breaking news, everyone. Yep. And Jonathan Turley is a constitutional law attorney and George Washington law professor. He's a Fox News contributor. We have been waiting for this decision. It is finally here. I don't think the White House will be surprised, even though they will be disappointed. They will probably vehemently disagree. But this is at least definitive, it sounds like, Jonathan, from the Supreme Court, that this was not allowed.
It is indeed, and this is what some of us predicted. This was a case where the administration was at a disadvantage. IEEPA does not refer to tariffs, and tariffs are a big deal under the Constitution. It's a critical form of revenue that is left to Congress. And I thought that the administration did a terrific job in front of the Supreme Court. They could not have argued this case better, in my view. But you can't really escape that language. And right out of the bat, when that oral argument began, the Chief Justice John Roberts said, this is a tax. And you could almost hear the administration gulping because that's not what they wanted the justices to take from their argument. But Roberts and others clearly view this as a tax that rests with Congress. Now, there's a lot of runway still for the administration. We have to really get into this opinion, into some of the weeds, to see if it is perspective only, but also the administration has other tools in its toolbox. It can actually impose tariffs under other statutes. So this night is hardly over for the administration when it comes to tariffs.
And Jonathan, the Supreme Court took months to make this decision. They had oral arguments back in November. They seemed pretty skeptical about this 1977 law that the president was using to impose these tariffs broadly. President Trump has said if the Supreme Court does this and strikes down his ability to use these tariffs, it would be disastrous for the country. Talking about how are you supposed to send the money back? How do you put the toothpaste back into the bottle? What are your thoughts on that? Is the United States going to suddenly have to return the money it took in via the tariffs as part of this 1977 law that the court is saying he can't use to do this?
That's what we're going to have to dig a little deeper into the opinion to see if it is perspective only. Also, Congress has to decide if it wants to move here. The economy is doing extremely well with this administration and with the tariffs. And so the question is Congress going to move in here to make sure that...
Okay, pause. The part that should make everybody sit up is Roberts framing this as a tax, because once you call it a tax, the Constitution basically screams Congress, not the guy having a bad week on Truth Social. And look at the irony here. Gorsuch and Barrett, two Trump picks, apparently went, nope. That's not deep state. That's your own appointees recognizing you can't duct tape an emergency powers law from 1977 onto unlimited tariffs forever. That's separation of powers 101. Also, Fox trying to soothe their audience like, don't worry, he has other tools in the toolbox. Yeah, like the minute they lose in court, they go shopping for a new loophole. That's the whole pattern. And Trump attacking the justices as a disgrace? That's not strength. That's a president mad the guardrails still exist for now. Drop your take. Is this a real check or just a speed bump?
So this is how Donald Trump started his day today. And I know what you're thinking, but this isn't some weird hostage situation, or at least not officially. This is the first meeting of Trump's so-called Board of Peace. And no, I have no idea why they were playing Gloria. I can't explain that one. But this whole thing is it supposed to be a big alternative to the United Nations, which Trump says is supposed to bring peace and harmony, not just to the Middle East, but to the entire world. And watching Trump's remarks today, it was clear that world peace wasn't exactly top of mind.
You know, I've seen some great corporate boards. I've seen some great boards, period. We broke 50,000 on the Dow. They said that would take 4 years. It's always nice to be young and handsome. Doesn't mean we have to like you. I don't like young, handsome men. Women, I like. Men, no, I don't have any interest. They said there's a surprise coming. I didn't know that surprise. I thought they were going to give me a lot of money or something, maybe cash. Could always use some extra cash.
The man is a lot of things, but he does have a knack for just shouting the quiet part out loud, doesn't he? Now, somewhere in his speech, Trump did announce $7 billion in international pledges for the rebuilding of Gaza. But I should tell you that this board has virtually zero oversight, a vague goal of world peace, and a chairman for life with the name of Donald Trump. Oh, and you should also know that Trump announced that the United States is going to contribute $10 billion to his new board, but he did not say where that money would be coming from. Joining me now is the former National Security Advisor and Ambassador to the UN under President Obama, Susan Rice. It's great to see you. When I was watching this morning, I was thinking, what in the hell is Susan Rice thinking about what is happening on our screen? And here you are. What did you think of that? What is going on there?
It's actually pretty embarrassing, Jen. I mean, it's a collection of rogues and sycophants mostly, who showed up to give praise to the man who wants to be the dear leader of the world. And it's embarrassing for the United States, for our leadership, but it also underscores how profoundly unserious this is. This is a vanity project. But now it may also be a huge heist from the American taxpayers. $10 billion that he claims the United States government, that means you and I as American taxpayers, are giving to an entity that isn't an international organization. It isn't a U.S. government entity. It's a private vanity project for Donald Trump in perpetuity. Where that money's will come from, with what legal authority, it's non-existent. And when you consider, Jen, at the same time, we are, billions of dollars in arrears to the United Nations, to which we have a treaty obligation to provide assessed contributions, and is actually doing real peacekeeping and humanitarian activity all over the world in the most desperate places. But we're not paying those dues and those obligations. But now somehow he's miraculously found $10 billion to take from American taxpayers and put into his own private vanity project.
There's also no oversight. And there was this Trump son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who has been out in the world negotiating with no official job on behalf of the U.S. government. But he gave a speech today as well. I mean, he has so many conflicts of interest, but he gave a speech today. And I want to just play a part of it also, because I think the whole context of this and this weird slush fund that they're creating and saying it's for world peace is important for people to understand the whole perspective on. So let's play that.
What you've seen today is just a small sample of the work that's been done. And I really want to thank the entire team that's worked so hard at this. A lot of these people are volunteers. They're doing this not for any personal gain. People are not personally profiting from this. They are really doing this for their children and for their grandchildren, and because they want to see peace.
So that is coming from somebody who is literally procuring billions of dollars in profits from different international entities while also doing unnamed roles negotiating on behalf of the United States. I can't even, I just think of the ethics requirements we all lived by and you lived by, and you've sat at so many international tables where the United States and somebody like you is trying to project morality and values. And
wait, what the hell did I just watch? A board of peace with Trump as basically chairman for life. That's not diplomacy. That's branding. That's a golf resort version of foreign policy where the mission statement is trust me, bro, and the budget is we'll figure it out later. And the timing matters. The Supreme Court just smacked down his tariff power grab, and suddenly here comes a shiny new global project with a mystery $10 billion price tag. That is the same playbook. When the normal guardrails say no, he tries to route around them with some sketchy alternate structure. Also, Jared Kushner popping up like the freelance Secretary of State again. Come on. This is the guy who's had massive financial entanglement questions for years. And now we're supposed to believe no one's profiting. Sure. If the U.S. is behind on real international obligations, why are we funding Trump's personal geopolitical fan club?
As a now great company, he was in big trouble 2 years ago, and then I put on the tariffs, and now he's going round the clock, making the racks, making the steel, making everything that he makes. And it's just amazing what's happened, that anybody can be complaining about tariffs. He just said, I'd give you a big hug if the press wasn't out here, because the tariffs have really been a big difference.
It's been a game changer. We were competing with China. They had taken all of it. They were producing racks at $90 a piece. Our cost alone is $150. You've leveled it. The playing field's back.
So when I came in and we did what we had to do to save all these businesses, you went through the roof, right?
We did. Our quotes, our orders. We're so busy now, we don't know what to do. My lead time now on an order is 36 weeks. We were at a point in time with our racks division, we were laying off workers. We were working one shift, 3 days a week, begging for work. Now it's the exact opposite.
He's turning work down.
We're turning work down, which is a position that nobody wants to be in, but it's the reality of what your tariffs have done.
Honestly, you've got thousands of businesses all over the country the same thing. We've taken it away. They were ripping us off. Every country in the world was ripping us off. And to think that we have to be before the Supreme Court on a thing like this. Here's a man virtually going out of business, and now he's got a thriving business, hiring people, can't get enough people. And it's all because of tariffs. I had Novartis come in yesterday, a big drug company. They're building 11 factories, 11 drug plants for prescription drugs in the...
All right, so here's the trick with his tariff victory stories. He always finds one factory floor, one owner, one microphone moment, and he uses it like a hall pass to rewrite the entire economy. And I'm not denying some companies get a bump. Of course they do. A policy that raises prices on imports will help someone selling the domestic version. But who's eating the cost? Everybody downstream. Small manufacturers buying components. Farmers getting hit with retaliation. Consumers paying more so Trump can cosplay as Captain Industrial Revival. And notice what he's really arguing. Trust me, I need unilateral power because I can point to a guy who likes me. That's not economics. That's vibes-based governing. The Supreme Court saying no. Congress decides taxes isn't some technicality. It's democracy putting a seatbelt on an impulse driver. And if he's already hunting new legal workarounds, buckle up. That's the whole story going forward.